response video to Anticontavad. Yeah, the worst video ever in the history of videos, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. Just so horrible. Yeah, so he actually put in the description, call me solipsist, a relativist, or a moral nihilist if it helps you deal with all this. Well, I mean, they're descriptive titles, and you're saying you don't fit into these titles of relativist and moral nihilist? Or is there something other perfect definition of what you're espousing that, you know, you couldn't be more of a poster child for both of these things? So, I mean, you know, this is just so hilarious, this accusation, call me exactly what I am. Well, gee, I should feel bad about doing that. No, I shouldn't. That's again showing that my brain's functioning properly. I mean, shit. Oh, God, you'd be crazy. So anyway, but yeah, the comments are just priceless too. Just priceless. I mean, he's just defending anything here. And there is a possibility that the same thing can be simultaneously positive and negative. The starving snake swallowing a live frog, for example. Yes, simultaneously positive and negative in different organisms. I mean, that's kind of just silly to talk about some kind of simultaneous pain and pleasure. So again, he's just defending slavery here, basically, right? If there's a proper number of owners who are properly comforted and satisfied with the circumstance, it doesn't matter that there's this horrible circumstance that these other people are living in for that comfort. I mean, it's just so irrational. Oh, just horrible. I don't know. There's just, I don't, you know, what can you, you know, there's just nothing to say. It's just so bad. So anyway, and he does make some comment about his depression. I just thought was sort of priceless, but I'm not going to find it. But anyway, basically saying that, no, he's, you know, perfectly happy with his depression because he had it all worked out okay. He found this neato philosophy where he doesn't have to think. All he has to do is think like a monkey. Think like a monkey and everything's okay. Have the ethics and sensibilities of a monkey. Have as much acknowledgement of the world around you as a monkey. Amazing. Less than a monkey even. Because yeah, don't even be influenced or controlled by the fundamental psychological mechanisms. I mean, monkeys apply guilt to each other all the time. You would find that offensive. So even monkeys are more well behaved than this asshole would be, if liberated. Ugh, disgusting.
See me sitting here in front of this webcam. What direction am I facing in? North, south, east, west.
So the usual dodge.
Well,
yeah.
You don't have any way of knowing that because you.
Yeah, who cares, right? So that's his usual dodge. Bring up some subject that means absolutely nothing, and ignore the 99.99% of the things that do mean something. And so then all those questions that can be answered, don't bother asking those. Just ask the stupid, like, what color are my eyes? Well, yeah, they're blue.
Don't have enough information to determine that. In point of fact, depending on where I am standing on Earth, it's impossible for me to be looking any direction other than north. In other words, if I'm exactly on the South Pole, I have to be looking north somehow. Or if I'm on the North Pole, the reverse. You could also say, well, okay, I'm looking forward. All right, what direction is forward?
Yeah, well, forward is a concept that isn't tricky, okay? Forward is always in front of you, so duh on that one. I mean, duh on that one.
Or what direction am I looking in now? Well, you can say that I'm looking to my right. All right, well, what direction is right?
The direction you just looked in. Yeah. I mean, you can't do that, okay? I mean, you can't show the object and then say it. You know, if you wanted to confuse people, then you say, you know, how would I explain to somebody to turn left when they don't know which one left and right is, or something like that. But you can't do it when you already give away the answer by essentially, you know, we know how faces work and we know the symmetry of faces, so that ain't gonna work.
That's pretty obvious. The examples here, or go out into space and then head north.
Yeah, no one would do that. So there, this is the example he's going to use. Something completely imbecilic. Nobody would do that. They would know that you would need common reference points. No problem.
You can't. You need a fixed point to gauge.
Exactly. And so when we're on fucking Earth, we talk about north, south, east, and west because it works pretty good. And then we talk about longitude and latitude if we need to get more specific. And it works out pretty fucking goddamn good, doesn't it? Yeah, it does.
The direction you're
You ever heard of GPS?
going in, and there are no fixed points except for those that we arbitrarily grab out of nothing.
Yeah, whatever. You don't arbitrarily grab them out of nothing. You recognize the fact that you need to put the goal post at one end and the other goal post at the other end, so you get to the business of putting a goal post over there, and then you say, well, it's got to be about that far that way to get to the other goal post, so let's go put one that far over there. I mean, this is not that complicated. The instructions, reading the blueprint, it is not that complicated. You want to pretend we can't figure that out? Yes, we can figure that out.
Yes. Or that we use just some sort of artifact like the Earth to measure or to start from.
Yeah, we do something rational and sensible. Wow. I mean, Laura Layla, she says, look, we see eye to eye on this. Isn't that amazing? So I didn't know you were a dumb cunt, but I mean, God, you can't be a dumber cunt, right? Whatever in the universe our eyes happen to be, other than that everything is either positive or negative. Whatever, I don't even know what that means. Whatever in the universe our eyes happen to be, I don't know what that means. See? Where I see? Other than that, everything is either positive or negative. I don't know what that means. I think there are far more possibilities. I don't know. I don't know what that means. Do you have any clue what that means? No, there's no fucking way to interpret that at all. Fucking, you people are all insane lunatics. I mean, I'm really proud of myself that I am so disgusted and horrified by you people. I mean, yeah, I feel good about that. The fact that I want to go have a war and smite you. I mean, I really hate you, and I really love that I hate you, because you are exactly why humans fail. They can't do the simplest bit of fucking reasoning, little tiny bits of logic. No, my selfish bullshit comes first. I will not recognize other human beings as my equal. I will not recognize their consciousness. I will pretend their consciousness is like space north, that I somehow can't comprehend it. I can't find it. It's an arbitrary standard that they have consciousness. I have consciousness. They have maybe something that makes them behave in funny ways. But mine is obviously better. God damn. You are dumb fuckers.
So, that's just a very small, very obvious example.
No, it's a very useless example of absolutely nothing. Why don't you talk about something real? Why don't you talk about a cure for AIDS? Why don't you talk about something real in the world instead of this phony, fake baloney like there's some guy flying to the moon telling the other guy, head north. Yeah, but that ain't happening. Astronauts, I don't think astronauts ever said, well, you gotta go more north.
Of the fact that we don't have any absolutes to deal with.
There you go. We don't have any absolutes to deal with. We don't have any. There's nothing, absolutely nothing that you can say with rock solid, beyond reasonable doubt certainty. So yeah, open every fucking loony door. Take all the loonies and let them loose, because you can't reasonably judge. You can't reasonably say it's pretty motherfucking certain they're crazy. No, it's okay to rape, it's okay to pillage, it's okay to just do whatever the fuck everybody wants to do, because nobody can pass anything called a reasonable judgment. Fuck you.
Although, again, we're using things like directions simply as tools to help us measure what's going on.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, to help us measure. That's right. Because we understand there is difference, relativity. Okay, relative to this, relative to that, we can find the guidepost and we can figure it all out. And those guideposts aren't that hard to agree on. The simple concept that feelings aren't unique to the one individual, that there's billions and billions and billions of feeling creatures on planet Earth, and they all don't want sticks up their ass.
Around us, it doesn't really matter that left doesn't phenomenally exist. It's a very useful concept.
It does phenomenally exist. We use it all the fucking time. It means something like when you're left, you're right. We all know what it means. We all use it all the time, and it's incredibly useful. You tell somebody when you're on the phone, yeah, you're just going to pass the stop sign, take a left. That way. Not complicated.
But again, we have to be careful. Just because left is useful doesn't mean that left phenomenally exists.
Yes, it does phenomenally exist. We invented the word to describe the phenomenon of left. I mean, fuck, this is just such a lie. What, we didn't invent the word to describe the thing that is left? We didn't do that? That's not a fact? Fuck.
Or north, or south, or any of,
Yes, all of those things have explicit definition. Explicit. North is always a reference to a pole, and it's always usually like 99.99% of the time it's going to be established that it's going to be the polar, at least polarly consistent with the arrangement of planet Earth. So you could say that somebody could talk about north on Mars because Mars and the Earth have the same they're in the same magnetosphere of the sun, so they do point the same way. Their orientation is similar. So north on Mars is north on the Earth.
The directions, up or down. Excuse me. Now, there are, we can refine this a little bit further. Let's say, I'm guzzling my morning 9 cups of coffee. Not 9, but a lot. What's this? It's a spoon. Okay, well, says who? All right, show this to a...
Right. Says anybody and everybody, right? So he's going to say if you show it to an alien, they wouldn't know what that thing looks like. They wouldn't see the shovel appearance of a spoon. They could fly, let's say they actually could fly through their solar system and fly through their galaxy even. And you're saying they couldn't deduce that was some sort of shovel device.
Clothes from Arcturus, this planet somewhere else, and another star, and he won't know what it is because his physiology...
Well, he'll know what it isn't. Okay? I mean, he'll look at it and he'll say, it's not a tentacle scraper. Or he'll say it's, whatever, it's not a booger picker. I don't know what exactly his problems are, but there's lots of things he'll know it's not. It's not an iPhone. It's not a tire on a car. It's not an intergalactic turbocharged, whatever, what do you call that, Freudian engine.
He is presumably completely different from ours, so he hasn't got a clue.
Yes, he'll have clues. He'll have lots of clues.
I studied some archaeology in university, and of course...
Yeah, right, archaeology in university. Yeah, that's funny.
Claude would probably say was, well, this probably has some sort of religious significance.
Right, they wouldn't see the obvious. They wouldn't look at the obvious and say it's a shovel. It's a very small shovel for shoveling small things. Oh yeah, that's right, we shovel things into our mouth, so yeah, it probably makes sense.
Which is inevitably the title that you put on something, or the judgment that you place on something. When you don't know what it is, you can't identify it, it probably had religious...
Yeah, what does this have to do with anything? Does this have to do anything with whether it's wrong to rape a 13-year-old girl, or whether it's wrong to own slaves, or whether it's wrong to torture animals when you could eat tofu or potato chips or some other kind of food? Does it have anything to do with any of those subjects? No. But he's using this as evidence that it's okay to torture animals. Hilarious.
Significance. Now, refine it a step further. Is this a good or a bad thing? Well, it's a good thing if you're going to use it to put food into your gizzard.
I would say overall it was a pretty good invention. It's easy to clean, it's sanitary, it's kind of efficient, it gets most of the food into the mouth, very little waste, droppage, spillage. Yeah, it's probably a good thing, duh.
But it's a bad thing if you're, I don't know, a recovery.
Oh, so he's going to make it so, yes, let's not talk about what it is in the world. Let's talk about what it is to different psychiatric crazy fuckers. So let's go find out what it is to a retarded kid, right? It's something to stick in his ass. So that means that we don't know what spoons are anymore because a retard sticks spoons in their ass. That's his example. This is fuck. What the fuck is this nonsense? We don't know what a spoon is because retards stick them in their ass.
For a heroin addict, and this brings up nasty associations of, I don't know.
Well, he's going to be in tough shape, isn't he, then? You know, every meal, if he's going to get all boo-hooey about his heroin addiction because he sees a spoon, I don't think that's going to happen. I really don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that association is really going to happen. That's like saying you're going to blame every bottle on earth because alcohol comes in a bottle, and therefore every bottle you see, you're going to have some sort of horrible trauma.
Bunsen burners or candles and little bits of bubbling powder in it. It also brings up bad associations if you, like me, had an Irish mother who had a habit of whenever you decided to step...
Yeah, whatever. Your Irish lineage. Man, how sick am I of this crap. You whatever it is. You fucking sheep fuckers. Sheeple. Yeah, fuck the Irish. You're apparently all a bunch of sadistic lunatics. Yeah, you whap your kids with spoons, you punch each other over nothing, you have fights whenever possible, and yeah, who's supposed to wanna be Irish? Not me.
I thought of line of going smack on the head with it, which tended to make me angry more than actually hurting. It hurt a lot, but it made me angry. So, okay, this thing isn't really neutral because you can put value on it. You can say that it's good, bad, or whatever, whereas to cloak...
Good, bad, or whatever. So he's implying that we, human beings on Earth, have spent some time, like Laura Laley, have you spent some time evaluating spoonage? Have you really done that? So here he's going to have a conversation about value by using a spoon as an example of something of value. He's not going to talk about a gun. He's not going to talk about swords even, or bombs, or nuclear weapons, or toxic waste, or a million other things that could have significant value implications. No, he's going to talk about a spoon. Fuck.
It's, I don't know what it is. It's nothing. It's a lump of metal, you know. And again, we can reduce that.
Right. We can. Why would we do that? Why would we forget that it's a spoon because we realize it can be made out of stainless or gold or silver? Why would we forget that it's a spoon because it's made out of silver? I wouldn't forget. I'd still remember that it was a spoon even if it was made out of silver. Would you? Are you smart enough to do that? Are you smart enough, Laura Layla, not to forget it's a spoon when you contemplate what it's made out of?
Further and say it's just a pile of matter, energy, and empty space. That's the problem with value.
I mean, amazing. That's the problem with value. So he uses his spoon as an example and then talks about the problem with value. He doesn't use drunk drivers as an example, or toxic waste dumpers, or litter bugs, or like the 9 million other heinous individuals that prey on shoplifters. He doesn't use anything reasonable for this value example. No, he uses a spoon. Oh dear, should we put the spoons in prison?
You need a fixed point to assess value from.
Yeah, okay, so you need a fixed point to assess value. Of course, that's right. You need references. You need premises. So it's not that hard. It's like mathematics. That's right. You have to have base 10 math. You have to establish the premise. Is it base 10? Is it base 8? Is it binary? So, yeah, once you establish the premises and the fundamental first value, the 1, okay, with an equal to some mass or some volume or some other thing, you establish the reference point, then you can start doing some serious math. Okay, you say the speed of light, or you use pi and you give it a number. Yeah, you establish the reference. So what's so difficult here? I mean, I don't mind people want to disagree on what they value, but don't tell me there's no value, that it's all, we can't figure it out kind of bullshit. Because I certainly know from my personal experience as a consciousness that I certainly value not being harmed, and I would assume the same standard applies to all other sentients. And it's not an assumption based on nothing, it's an assumption based on they appear to be doing exactly what I'm doing, which is trying to minimize their harm and maximize their gain in some sort of reasonable ratio. So what's this conversation? What, we can't agree on that? That's asking too much for you to accept that we as sentient beings try to maximize our comfort and minimize our discomfort? Oh, please.
You turn on Discovery Channel and watch one of those delightful shows about a predator having a buffet off a wildebeest or something like that. And well, from the point of view of the wildebeest, it's pretty awful what's happening. It's I can forgive the wildebeest if he thinks this is pretty evil what's happening. But take the
you can forgive him. I mean, amazing. You can forgive him for thinking, oh, this is a bad deal. Screaming in pain or horror. You can forgive him for it. Amazing.
I don't know what cheetah or whatever it is that's eating it.
Yeah, well, cheetahs really don't do wildebeest. I mean, even the young, cheetahs are really small by big cat standards. So that's why they chase gazelles and stuff, but yeah.
Or the gang of hyenas.
There you go.
And to them, this is great. This is a buffet. This is what I do, me and my wife, every Sunday or every weekend when we trundle off.
Right, and why do they do that? Oh, it's because they don't know any better, right? You really think that if they were informed about what was really taking place, that these are other sentient beings, that when they do this thing, they are going to have a horrible experience, not unlike how they wouldn't want to happen to them, and they wouldn't want to happen to their cubs. And you're saying if they were informed, they would do what you're doing, which is say, I don't care. None of my business. Yum yum. I mean, I just think that's, insulting the animal. The animal is a dumb animal. It doesn't know what we know. We know that when you harm, when you when you injure, damage other sentient beings, that it causes them suffering. We know that because we have intelligence. We're not cheetah.
To the local casino and have all you...
Do you know that, Laura Layla? Do you have any comprehension of what sentience is? Do you understand that concept at all? Do you think cheetahs understand? And you think even if cheetahs did understand, they'd be like you and say, I don't care? Is that what they would say? There's nothing to see here, nothing to worry about, nothing to be concerned about whatsoever. There's no problem. You agree. We see eye to eye on this. You're as dumb as a cheetah?
You can eat. It's not a bad thing at all. In fact, I can imagine, although I don't know, the cheetah thinking, wow, this is what life is all about.
Yeah, he could probably think that when he's fucking a 6-month-old cheetah, right? When he's robbing the old cradle. Or raping or doing something else. I mean, it's just, what is the point in this? You're going to compare human beings to dumb animals. So what's the point of 10,000 years of learning where the hell we are? Having something called intelligence when you just flush it down the toilet. when it comes to the most important analysis we can conduct. We're not supposed to be intelligent. When we do the most important evaluations possible, that's when we're supposed to think like a bug. Fuck, I hate this planet.
This is really good. This is, I'm filling my belly, and I just had a great workout chasing this thing down, and now I'm eating it. And whether or not it's still alive is more or less irrelevant to me, because...
Yeah, that's right, because he doesn't understand what alive is, doesn't understand what dead is. You think a cheetah knows it's going to die? Do you think it knows that its kids are going to die? Do you think it knows that the thing it just ate died? Do you think it understands any of that?
I don't look at it this way. I have needs and I have desires. The two aren't the same thing necessarily, because...
I have needs and I have desires, and the two aren't the same thing necessarily because... But he doesn't explain the because here. This is not a rational statement. Okay, why aren't they the same?
Not only does the cheetah fulfill a need, i.e. it needs nourishment, but...
Yeah, right, but that's just kind of the bullshit, right? Because we know you can get nourishment all kinds of different ways. You can get nourishment, so like when the cheetah is teaching the young how to hunt or something, then you go through a whole nother, well, the young need to learn how to hunt, So yeah, you torture the animal even more then, because then they only half kill it. But yes, the cheetah understands the value equation and says, I'm worth it, right? That's all you need to do is just say you're better than the darky, right? So all the cheetah has to do is come up with some rationalization to say wildebeest doesn't matter, cheetah does matter. It wouldn't do it to its own kids. Clearly it has a double standard, and that we're supposed to applaud as intelligent. Double standards are something that intelligent things do. Now I think the aliens would love to come here and explain that to you. Yeah, you should get it, boy. You should get exactly what you deserve. Bug interaction on a massive mega scale. Mega scale bug interaction. Close encounter of the most insidious kind. That's what you're entitling yourself to.
It gets positive gain out of the act of eating, and as anyone will tell you after they've just had a very satisfying meal, it's more than just being satiated and more than just fulfilling.
Says him, right? It's more than being satiated, it's more than fulfilling desire. No, I think it's exactly what it is. You do it, you're comforted, and you get pretty dim-witted and drowsy because, yeah, everything's okay and you don't need to do anything no more, and it's time to watch some mind-numbing TV or something, right? Yeah, that's right. That's how it works, usually, generally.
You need when you lay on the couch afterwards and go, oh man, that's good. As the French Canadians say.
I will say I've never done that. I've never said, oh, that's good. No, I never did that. Never pirated after dinner.
J'ai bien mangé, moi.
I never did that either. Never, ever, ever, ever would I speak French after eating.
J'ai bien mangé. You just rub your belly and you say, I've eaten very well. And it's sort of a traditional compliment to the...
Right, and you can't do that with a bowl of ice cream, though. If you had a bowl of ice cream, it'd be like, yes, cinema poo, in pipi and poo-poo. You'd be all bitchy and moany because, yeah, it was ice cream. It wasn't dead animal. It wasn't tortured animals, so it wasn't no good.
Supposedly a woman that cooked this. It's a well-done wife or mother-in-law or sister, daughter, whoever.
Right, and they sell about 5 zillion Rolaids worldwide every year. Yeah. Well done.
It's, traditionally you're supposed to be liberal with compliments. And it's not that difficult when you've ever eaten French Canadian cuisine.
Whatever,
it's awesome.
so whatever.
Eating isn't just
right, mayonnaise.
Eating need. It actually is good.
On potato chips.
Could make a million videos on that, but
or French
what
fries.
I'm trying to say is, what value do we place on that?
Do.
What value do we place on the the act of consuming something. As I say, whatever you eat, you kill. As human beings, we
Well,
are
whatever. So again, this is supposed to be a serious argument. You're telling me, sir, that you're going to talk about wildebeest and any number of other kinds of animals, pigs, as if they are no better than strawberry. You killed the strawberry when you ate it. Did you really kill the strawberry? Is that really true that you killed the strawberry? I mean, isn't the strawberry's whole fucking point in existing is for you to eat it? It's designed to be eaten, where other organisms are not so designed, are they? No.
The animals, we have to eat all kinds of things, and in order for them to eat, we have to stop them from flourishing anymore.
Well, like I said, that's not true. There's a ton of foods that grow as seeds on plants, and they are to be harvested without any damage to the producer at all.
Okay, well, that's murder in a sense, I guess. Yes, we thrive off death, don't we? Yes, but we...
Well, you do. And that's the sort of the point, right? Is that if you're intelligent, you really don't want to be thriving off of death. That's right. You'd rather thrive off of something a little more credible than that. A little more decent. A little more, yeah, do the show better than that. Yeah. Yeah, you don't have to thrive off death. There's lots of other things to thrive off of.
Live off death. Yeah? Okay, so death is life.
Says you. Okay, so he just made a declaration. He can't figure out where north is, but that he knows. Death is life. Whatever that even means. Life is death might make some sense, but death is life. Whatever.
Is this good or bad? It depends on your point of view, doesn't it?
Yeah, it depends on whether you're rational and you can accept that sentience is sort of the only thing around here that we can figure out that really matters any. That's right, the welfare of feeling things. It seems like that's the only thing I can see. What do you see, Laura Layla? Why don't you make a video? Explain to me what besides the welfare of a sentient being has any kind of fucking relevance in the universe. Why don't you point me to something that somehow doesn't impact the welfare of a sentient being and yet is still valuable? Go ahead, show me something, please.
There's no fixed value for this.
Yeah, says you. Says you. The person who can't figure out. Well, everybody else knows. They know. They don't they don't kick their cat across the living room. They don't inconsiderately or casually, or even by some quite extensive deliberate effort, want something to be in a suffering condition by their action. It's a perfectly rational way to judge your efficiency. If there's a waste or a consumption in the world, yeah, we can figure out the thing being consumed, the price tag paid for everything we want is somehow some sort of suffering or inconvenience or nastiness. We know it in the world. We complain because people aren't paid enough wages or their working conditions aren't sufficient. We understand these equations. I mean, what are you people? But yeah, you belong in the gulag. You belong getting the worst of it, you fucking sadistic bastards.
Might want to place some fixed value on it, but it doesn't occur phenomenally, and you can take either.
Well, whatever. You can take either. Can you? Can you rationally take either and not be called a hypocrite? So your welfare matters, but everything else's welfare doesn't. That's how you're going to tell me that's reasonable, that you have some reasonable evidence to say that it's okay for you to make judgments protecting yourself from harm and maximizing your yummy comfort, but it's not, we can't apply the same standards of comfort and harm to the rest of the things you're going to exploit and interact with. That's not infinitely logical to do that. to extend your same standards to everything else you interact with. No, it is logical. It's a mandate of rationality to recognize that fact. You are not God, crazy fuck.
There's side in it. You go to McDonald's and you see a bunch of families eating Sunday afternoon. You say, well, this is, you know...
Right, you see a bunch of guys at the dog fight or the cockfight betting on the bloody outcome, and you say, ooh, dumb motherfuckers. And if you don't say that, you are a dumb motherfucker.
This might be very bourgeois and very last manish, but...
Yeah, no, it's very fuck you-ish. God, you are so hateable.
Okay, well, it's a harmless pleasure that everybody is...
It's a harmless pleasure. There you go. It's a harmless pleasure. So you can't even acknowledge that there is some evidence that it may not be a harmless pleasure. You now know this, though. You don't know where north is, you don't know where west is, you don't know where left is, but you know it's harmless. It's a harmless pleasure. You know it. It's not something you said that it may be possible that it's a harmless pleasure. No, you said, it's a known. We know it's a harmless pleasure. Now, how do you know that, and yet you don't know where north is?
And that, you know, they bring...
Yeah, you don't know what a spoon is.
The kiddies out to McDonald's and have some junk food, but it tastes good, and it's not going to harm you much if you do it once a week.
It's not going to harm you much. So now you're worried about their interest in their harm equation. So you can't figure out that the animal being tortured has a harm welfare, but you think it might harm the people if they eat too much McDonald's. So eating too much McDonald's, you think that might be a harm, but you don't think it's even possible that it could be a harm to exploit the animals. Fucking hey, amazing.
Or whatever. Or, if you're a militant vegetarian, you can say this is revolting.
Militant vegetarian? No, if you're any kind of vegetarian. Militant. I mean, hilarious.
This disgusting...
I mean, you're making me into a militant, to tell you the truth. This kind of stuff makes me say, yes, it's time to get militant. It's time to put on a little hard hat and, you know, get to business.
Place where people gluttonize themselves on food they don't need simply for their own sense gratification, and there's...
Yeah, denying where it came from. That's right. Oh, at least acknowledge what you're doing, all right? Give me an argument like you're worth it, okay? Like some whatever, fat princess in spandex eating bonbons who on a welfare check saying, I'm worth it. I'm worth it. Yeah, okay. At least make that argument. At least tell me you're worth it. But don't tell me there's no price. Don't pretend there's nothing. There's no harm. I mean, come on.
Factory firms backing all of this up. Take your pick. It's both and it's neither and it's everything.
Says you again. So you know that one? You don't know where north is. You don't know where south is. You don't know where forward is. But somehow you know that this is just eeny, meeny, miny, mo. There's no distinction between these, Joe. Come on.
Everything. Value is subjective.
Says you again. How did you know that? Where is that written? What North Pole was that written on? What pole is that written on? Where is that a written fact in the universe? Where? Where do I go find that signpost, that reference, that fact? In anything, anywhere, except in your convenient philosophy, as a contrivance of your own convenience. What other reference is there for that fact? Oh, that's right, none.
It's relative. I would say...
Relative? Yeah, relative to what? Relative is okay, actually, okay? I mean, relative if it's not going to be stated to be relative to some sort of made-up position, right? I mean, if you want to say values are relative, I mean, they're on scales, well, that's certainly true. But relative to whatever you make up as a premise or a foundation, relative to any nonsense, relative to I'm insane and I like to stick spoons up people's asses, no, sorry. You're still, you know, it's just idiotic. Relative to what? It has to be relative to something with some sort of credibility, some sort of qualification, some sort of integrity. You can't just say relative to anything anybody makes up. That's silly.
Depends on your point of view.
No, it doesn't. It depends on whether you're logical or an asshole. And we know who you are.
Your perspective. And what value do you want to place on things?
Oh, wanting. Now we want to have value. And I would rather have a valueless universe. I'd love for everything just to be made out of whatever, marshmallow. And no ouches, none of this bullshit, fine. It's okay with me. I don't want to make value statements. I don't want to have to recognize that things are being harmed right now, exploited, that some little kid is being raped right now. Yeah, I don't want to know that. I don't want to know that that value is being wasted and squandered and spoiled. I don't want to know that. I don't want to declare it. But you got to recognize it because I have a brain. Yeah, that works. My brain works, unlike yours. You've apparently sold yours.
Do you want to see? That goes especially in the vein of the depressive realism that I'm speaking to. You can place positive or negative value on anything.
On anything. So again, anything. It's just silly to say you can place positive and negative value on anything. We do it based on a circumstance, a definable circumstance. The negative connotation goes on things that knock arms and legs and limbs and, cause humanness or animals some sort of substantial suffering. It goes in the negative category. It's not that complicated. AIDS is all bad news. There's no good news. Fuck you.
This series of videos was initiated by a request from Andreas Moss, and one of my favorite authors is a Norwegian fellow, which he may or may not have read, called Knut Hamsun. He's certainly heard of him. Very controversial existential author.
Oh, whoop-de-goddamn do.
And one of his best books, if you ask me, was a book called Hunger. It's about what it's like for a fallen middle-class Norwegian writer to walk around in the streets of Oslo, then called Christiania, starving. He didn't have enough money to fill his belly, and he's selling little bits of clothing to get enough money to stay alive, and he's far too proud to do anything, and he's not going to beg. He's stubborn. He's extremely
bits of clothing off people.
Angry at the world. Well, he's really hungry. And what does a really hungry person need? Well, he needs food, of course. So he suddenly comes into enough money to buy himself a nice meal. So he goes into a restaurant. What does he order? He orders a pile of roast beef. Well, he hasn't eaten properly in months. And
yeah, by properly, I guess you mean he hasn't eaten roast beef. Yeah. And, so this only just validates the point, right? So, yeah, that, we're really not made to eat beef.
He hasn't eaten, in particular, in this instance, in about a week. So he stuffs the roast beef down his gullet, and he understands what he's doing is reckless, because his body, obviously, I guess his digestive system or stomach has shut down, and his body is switched over to digesting fat, if there's any left stored up in his system, or it
doesn't really digest fat that way. But obviously, yes, he doesn't have the enzymes and the fauna for the quick metabolism required to get meat the fuck out of your colon before it kills you.
The body has started to digest his muscle or other live tissue. So, of course, the roast beef.
Again, it doesn't digest it. Okay, it really doesn't. Your gut digests things. The rest of that stuff is chemical processing.
comes right back up. That roast beef is exactly what he needs because he's starving. He eats the roast beef.
It's not, obviously it's not exactly what he needs, okay? What he needed was to work his way up to it. Maybe start with a half a Twinkie or something. Yeah. Like a bowl of soup. That's what he needed, was a bowl of soup.
The roast beef causes his stomach upset. He vomits it up. He cannot overcome the sense of injustice and persecution at this. I'm trying to give my body what my body wants, and my body is rejecting it, and then it tortures.
Well, whatever. That's not what you're trying to do, quite obviously. So there's the failure in that logic. You know. I mean, yeah, like all the other great apes that go around eating roast beef.